Ursula Heggie, who received much acclaim for her novel Stones from the River, has recently published Children and Fire, which strikes a deep chord in the point of view that injustice does not change by merely theorizing or even by critical thinking. You have to feel it. One of those gut bucket feelings before the restitution of fairness or human rights or decency can take place. And so this new book, Children and Fire, takes place 1934 in Bergdorf, Germany. Thekla, the story's protagonist, is basically a good woman who enjoys her position as a teacher's assistant in a Catholic boys' school. She adores the head teacher, who is Jewish, although well-versed in Catholic tradition. And Thekla's mom used to work as a housekeeper for the Abramowitz family and always took Thekla with her there while she was still a little girl. Now, in the classroom where Thekla works, the crucifix, which had always hung over the piano, had been taken down, replaced by a portrait of Hitler. So prayers were still said, but this time it was for the Führer. Thekla thought Hitler was a homely man with a prissy mustache, but, it wasn't really that bad. A couple of Jewish families began leaving the town of Bergdorf. Children were encouraged to expose their families if any anti-Nazi sentiments were expressed. And the school introduced the idea of an essay for the kids to write called Dinner Conversations. But Thekla, in a state of denial, felt, overall, Germany was improving, more people were working, and the Führer stood for strong families. She encouraged the boys of her class to join in the Hitler Youth program. It was just some fun pageantry, after all, wasn't it? Besides, the burning of the Reichstag gave one pause. Well, the Jewish head teacher of the classroom where Thekla worked was fired. And the school offered the position to Thekla. A dream come true, although she had some sympathy for the teacher who was let go. Thekla learns, however, why she spent so much time as a child with the Abramowitz family. It turns out that Mr. Abramowitz had an affair with her mother and was actually her biological father. Thekla learned she was Jewish. Suddenly, all the denial about the oppressive Nazi regime began to fade, and she looked squarely into the face of her predicament. She felt it. Her world was reimagined. She wondered, how many people really know the truth of her identity? She feared for her job. She feared for her future altogether. In deep angst, she kept asking herself, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? The lesson, or the moral of the story, is self-evident. But I want to tie it in with the whole concept that issues must be felt, conflicts must be felt before we think the struggle is worthwhile enough to change it. It seems to me as though our society exempts itself from any obligation to feel. How differently we would manage the current recession if the employer could feel the anxious ways of the employee, and the employed feel the terror of the unemployed, and the manufacturer feels the risks of the consumer, and whites feel the powerlessness of people of color, and the haves feel the shame of the have-nots. And all of us together feel the terror of the millions of families whose homes were foreclosed. 1 John chapter 3 almost demands that of us. It says, if a person who was rich enough in this world's goods saw that one of his brothers or sisters was in need, but closed his heart to that person, how could the love of God be living in him? Interesting how Scripture's closing of the heart can be interpreted as refusing to feel. Can the brokers of Goldman Sachs ever feel the hopelessness of people sleeping in Pioneer Park? Can Americans feel the hunger of the Sudanese famine, so we are moved to act? Can the conservative right feel the fear and uncertainty of the unemployed, so we can finally stimulate the economy to put people back to work? How can the love of God be living in them? Feeling it leads to radical change in how things are. Now, whether you're throwing up during chemotherapy or learning you're Jewish during the Holocaust, you're reimagining the world as it is for others and thus feel compelled to sound the call for justice. Now, I think we all agree on the premise, at least in Unitarian Universalist churches. We're able to feel it once we absorb the reality of the interconnectedness of us all throughout the world. You know, once we consciously move beyond the mindset of what's in it for me and can understand the interdependency of all of life, all of nature, then these walls of separation determined by economics, race, power, become more permeable because we feel some semblance of connection with life of those on the other side of those walls, just connected. This remains at the very heart of our Universalist tradition. Our Universalist tradition says no one is saved until we are all saved. All means the whole of creation, including all species, ecosystems, rainforests, Greeks and Jews, men and women and children, all threads of the same cloth. And you tug on those separate threads and the whole cloth unravels like the world presently is. My good friend Bill Schultz, while president of the UUA, said that we respect the interdependent web of all existence because we human beings are not the masters of creation, but simply one more expression of creation's jubilation. Can we get the world to feel that? Can we open our hearts to the stranger because we're connected? We too have been in Egypt. Can we feel the hungry? Can we feed the hungry and clothe the naked because we feel what it is like? And if in that position ourselves, we would want others to treat us with the same dignity that we deserve as human beings. Can we reverse climate change because we're connected with every species throughout the universe? It's not about me, but how life itself, offers enough blessings to go around for all of us, as long as we refuse to hoard the bounty for ourselves. Can you feel it? Can you really